Hello and welcome to the third episode of Drugs, Diseases and Pharmacology. I am Debashri Das Datta and today we will be talking about some of the historical landmarks in pharmacology. In our last two episodes, we have established that pharmacology is the study of interaction of drugs with the living systems. So, to comprehend the concept of pharmacology, one must possess certain level of understanding regarding the concepts of human anatomy, physiology, cytology, pathophysiology. In short, the core aspects of medicine. Thus, when we talk about origin or history of pharmacology, we are actually referring to the origin of medicine itself. हमने पिछले दो एपिसोड्स में ये स्थापित किया है कि फार्माकोलॉजी मनुष्य में दवाओं के प्रभाव का अध्ययन है। इसलिए दवाई की कार्रवाई की अवधारणा को प्रभावी ढंग से समझने के लिए मानव शरीर रचना विज्ञान, शरीर विज्ञान, कोशिका विज्ञान और पैथोफिजियोलॉजी, संक्षेप में चिकित्सा के मूल अवधारणाओं के बारे में कुछ स्तर की समझ होनी आवश्यक है। इस प्रकार जब हम मूल औषधि विज्ञान के बारे में बात करते हैं तो हम वास्तव में चिकित्सा की उत्पत्ति के बारे में बात करते हैं। So now the question is, where did it all begin? The history of medicine dates back to the period of human existence. Initially, human associated diseases with the wrath of God. So obviously magic, prayer and to certain level herbs and medicinal plants played an enormous role in prehistoric medicine. प्राचीन काल में मनुष्य बीमारी को ईश्वर के प्रकोप के साथ जोड़ते थे। इसलिए जादू, प्रार्थना, जड़ी बूटी आदि प्राचीन चिकित्सा प्रणालियों में बहुत अहम भूमिका निभाते हैं। However, among all the superstitious mumbo-jumbo, the ancient Egyptians managed to concord the healthiest healthcare system of their time. The records of the first ever physician to survive the sands of time is that of Imhotep. Imhotep is known to have chronicled over 200 medical conditions such as tuberculosis, appendicitis, gout, gallstone and arthritis, along with its treatment intervention. The document in which Imhotep's remedies and medical conditions are documented is known as the Edwin Smith Papyrus. It contains almost 100 anatomical terms and describes 48 injuries along with their treatment options. Imhotep was born around 1200 BC and is the first ever physician with a written record. प्राचीन मिस्रवासियों के पास अपने समय की सबसे अच्छी स्वास्थ्य देखभाल प्रणाली थी। इमोटिव नाम के चिकित्सक इतिहास के पहले चिकित्सक माने जाते हैं। इनका जन्म 2600 ईसा पूर्व के आसपास हुआ और इन्होंने 200 से अधिक विभिन्न चिकित्सा स्थितियों के साथ साथ उनके तरीकों का भी वर्णन किया है, जिसको एडविन स्मिथ पाइपर्स के नाम से जाना जाता है। इस एडविन स्मिथ पाइपर्स में उन्होंने 100 एनाटॉमिकल टर्म्स या शारीरिक रचना को की व्याख्या करने वाले शब्दों का जिक्र एवं अराउंड 48 प्रकार के चोटों को और उनके निवारण के उपायों का उल्लेख किया है। Imhotep's remedies, admittedly a lot of them consisted of incantations and spells, but he also stressed a whole lot on food, diet and use of herbal medicinal plants in medicine. Imhotev के उपचार में हर्बल उपचार, कभी कभी सर्जरी, यहाँ तक कि जादुई मंत्र भी शामिल रहे हैं। In around 460 BC, Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, was born. Hippocrates introduced science into medicine. He authored approximately 70 books where he described scientifically diseases and their treatment intervention in detailed observation. हिपोक्रेट्स ने कई किताबें लिखी जिसमें उन्होंने वैज्ञानिक टिप्पणियों और तर्कसंगत निष्कर्षों के आधार पर चिकित्सा स्थितियों का वर्णन किया। इसी कारण हिपोक्रेट्स को मेडिसिन का या चिकित्सा प्रणाली के जनक के रूप में भी जाना जाता है। The major works of Hippocrates included a system of diagnosis and prognosis he developed using herbs. In his works, he discussed approximately 300 to 400 species of medicinal plants, and thus from here began the accession of pharmacology into the science of medicine. हिपोक्रेट्स ने जड़ी बूटियों, जिनको हम ड्रग्स भी कहते हैं, उनकी 300 से 400 प्रजातियों का उपयोग करके निदान और रोग निदान की प्रणाली विकसित की और यहीं से औषधि विज्ञान और चिकित्सा विज्ञान का एक सम्मिलित अनुप्रयोग प्रारंभ हुआ। From antiquity till date, one thing common in almost all forms of medicine is that drugs, medicine or active pharmaceutical ingredients are obtained mostly from the plant kingdom. प्राचीन काल से अब तक की सभी चिकित्सा प्रणालियों में एक बात समान है कि औषधि या दवाइयों का स्रोत ज़्यादातर प्लांट किंगडम या पादप जगत या जड़ी बूटी और औषधीय पौधे होते हैं। Now let us talk about some of the notable contributions important for both the field of pharmacology as well as medicine. The first of it, every pharmacologist have heard, even people of medicinal origin have also heard of the De Materia Medica, the ultimate book describing the sources of medicine. Dioscorides compiled De Materia Medica in 5 books in the year AD 65. Each chapter of Materia Medica deals with the preparation, property, therapeutic uses and testing methods of substances with medicinal value. डायोस्क्रोडिस ने डी मटीरिया मेडिका को 5 पुस्तक में संकलित किया। मटीरिया मेडिका का प्रत्येक अध्याय औषधीय महत्व वाले पदार्थों के स्रोत, तैयारी, गुण, चिकित्सा एवं परीक्षण पद्धति को वर्णित करता है। The post-Renaissance period saw some of the most remarkable discoveries in medicine. One of which was Dr. James Lind performed the first clinical trial in the history of medicine. He tested the effect of citrus fruit on scurvy. It was in the year 1747. Dr. James Lind ने चिकित्सा के इतिहास में पहला नैदानिक परीक्षण किया। उन्होंने स्कर्वी पर खट्टे फल के प्रभाव का परीक्षण किया। And this remarkable effect of observing the effect of vitamin C on a disease is one of the preludes to the field of pharmacology. Next, in the year 1831, Francois Magendie, professor of medicine at the Collège de France, started to investigate the effect of drugs in animal experimentation. कॉलेज डी फ्रांस में मेडिसिन के प्रोफेसर फ्रैंकोइस डी मैंडी ने पशुओं पे दवाइयों की जांच का प्रयोग आरंभ किया। एंड फ्रॉम हियर इज एक्चुअली द ओरिजिन ऑफ एक्सपेरिमेंटल फार्माकोलॉजी। Curare is one of the classical skeletal muscle relaxant drug. Claude Bernard in the year 1847 discovered that the South American arrow poison curare acts at the neuromuscular junction to interrupt the stimulation of muscle by nerve impulses. क्लॉड बर्नार्ड ने पाया कि साउथ अमेरिकन के एरो पॉइजन क्यूरारे तंत्रिका आवेगों द्वारा मांसपेशियों की उत्तेजना को बाधित करने के लिए न्यूरोमस्कुलर जंक्शन पर कार्य करता है। Up until now, medicine and pharmacology were going hand in hand and not as two different disciplines, as it was doctors who were trying to evaluate the effect of various medicine in treatment of various drugs. be it scurvy, be it curare, it was doctors who found the use of these materials. However, by the end of 17th century and by the beginning of the 18th century, not only medicine but chemistry also made tremendous strides of improvement, because of which now we were able to extract out the ingredient of importance, and instead of using the entire plant or plant part making infusion decoction, we were able to pinpoint which active ingredient or which ingredient from which plant is useful. And to define the therapeutic uses, it became important to establish a science that solely dealt with understanding or documenting the uses and side effects of these isolated molecules. And thus, in the year 1867, Rudolf Buchheim established the first pharmacological institute at Stilsburg, Germany, where he started doing researches in experimental way and as a lead of pharmacologist. रूडोल्फ ब्यूकेल ने स्टेल्सबर्ग में पहला फार्माकोलॉजिकल संस्थान स्थापित किया, जहां उन्होंने लीड ऑफ फार्माकोलॉजिस्ट के रूप में प्रायोगिक तरीके से औषधियों के बारे में शोध करना आरंभ किया. Pharmacology, as it began to be established as a separate branch in science, more and more experiments relating to the drug and drug effect started to come into being. And as more and more experiments started, so did more and more drug. And now, instead of plant part, we were getting more concentrated active ingredients in form of drug in the market. And as this started, the need for controlling the drugs coming into the market also came into being. Therefore, in the year 1906, US Congress passed the original FDA, that is Food and Drug Act, currently referred to as the US FDA. अमेरिका के कांग्रेस ने मूल FDA खाद्य एवं औषधि अधिनियम पारित किया, जो कि हम वर्तमान US FDA के नाम से जानते हैं. US FDA Act has been extremely crucial in defining, regulating various forms of drugs and drug use even till date. Two of the most important branch of medicine and even of pharmacology is the antimicrobials and anti-cancer drugs, both of which are coupled as chemotherapeutic agents. Paul Ehlrich and Sakahiro Hata in the year 1909 discovered the first chemotherapeutic drug to treat syphilis. पॉल एलरिच और सहचीरो हाटा ने सिफिलिस के इलाज के लिए पहले कीमोथेरेपी ड्रग की खोज की. Cancer may be acknowledged as the deadliest form of disease, but in today's day and world, diabetes is a household name. Sadly, it is not only affecting the elderly, but nowadays even children are seen to be prone to be diabetic, and that too from a very early age. However, significant strides of improvement in anti-diabetic management or management of diabetes was made by the discovery of insulin. In the year 1921, insulin was first discovered by Sir Frederick G. Banting, Charles H. Best and J.J.R. MacLeod at the University of Toronto. इंसुलिन की खोज सर फेडरिक जे बैंटिंग, चार्ल्स एच बेस्ट और J.J.R. MacLeod ने टोरंटो विश्वविद्यालय में की, और इंसुलिन की खोज के साथ ही डायबिटीज़ को मैनेज करने के लिए बहुत मदद हुई. After the COVID era, we have now learned to really fear infections, but infections had always been a major concern. At the starting of medicine, when surgery was introduced, one of the biggest reasons why patients used to die were because of infections. Therefore, to counteract infections, many forms of treatment were always under study. However, the true era of antimicrobials started by the discovery of penicillin in the year 1928 by Alexander Fleming. And then in the year 1935, Gerard Dogmark developed Prontosil, the first commercial antibacterial sulfonamide. And it was the first chemical sulfonamide. Penicillin was an antibiotic, but sulfonamide Prontosil was an antimicrobial agent and not an antibiotic. The difference between the two we will be dealing in our chapter or in our episode on antimicrobials. Wait for it. So अलेक्जेंडर फ्लेमिंग ने पेनिसिलिन की खोज की और जेरार्ड डॉगमार्क ने 1935 में पहला वाणिज्यिक जैवाणुरोधक सल्फोनामाइड प्रोंटोसिल विकसित किया और इसी के साथ ही एंटीबायोटिक्स या एंटीमाइक्रोबियल एजेंट का स्वर्णिम युग भी चालू हुआ. While penicillin was an antibiotic, sulfonamide was a purely chemical entity. And when a chemical entity is purely chemical, it also has a very high chances of causing toxicity. Additionally, the issue with infections are the development of resistance. Bacteria, being living systems, they evolve continuously. And as they evolve, they learn how to counteract or overcome the drugs. And because of which the drug dose needs to be increased. This led to the entire sulfonamide disaster, and US FDA had to mandate submission of new drug safety and effectiveness evidence prior to clinical use. And from here started the era of preclinical drug trials. सल्फोनामाइड आपात के पश्चात यूएस एफडीए को नई दवाइयों के नैदानिक उपयोग से पहले उनकी सुरक्षा और प्रभावशीलता के साक्ष्य प्रस्तुत करने का अनिवार्य नियम बनाया और यहीं से प्री क्लिनिकल मेडिसिन एविडेंस बेस्ड मेडिसिन का एरा भी प्रारंभ हुआ. Like we discussed in our previous episode, the two major domains of pharmacology is pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamics. While dynamics deals with mechanism of action, kinetics is responsible for evaluating the effect of body on the drug, its metabolism, excretion, absorption, etc. The term pharmacokinetic, however, was introduced in the year 1953 by Professor Dost in his book Der Blutspiegel. Pharmacokinetics शब्द का प्रयोग सबसे पहले प्रोफेसर दोस्त ने अपनी बुक्स Der Blutspiegel में किया था 1953 में. After US FDA mandated it to necessary to submit the safety and effectiveness data of any new drug before its clinical use, the term evidence-based medicine came into being. It was Dr. Gordon Goyd who coined the term evidence-based medicine. Evidence-based medicine integrates preclinical and clinical research data for defining the best possible treatment approach. We will be discussing what is preclinical research and what are the various stages of clinical research in our eventual episodes. डॉक्टर गॉर्डन गॉयड ने साक्ष्य आधारित चिकित्सा शब्द गढ़ा. ईबीएम सर्वोत्तम संभव उपचार दृष्टिकोण को प्रभाषित करने के लिए प्री क्लिनिकल और क्लिनिकल अनुसंधान डेटा को एकत्रित करता है. We saw some of the notable advancement in the field of pharmacology from 1700 to 1900s. Now let us discuss some of the important figures related to the field of pharmacology. First of all, let's talk about Rudolf Buchheim. Rudolf Buchheim, as we said, introduced or established the first Institute of Pharmacology in 1847 in Germany. He was the pioneer to introduce systemic exploration of experimental method to define mechanism of action of particular drugs. Like I said, before, what used to happen was people or physician used to take a medicinal herb or anything and used to directly treat patients. There was no method in between to understand or even determine whether a particular drug has an effect or not, is safe or not. To systemically explore the mechanism of action of any drug, Rudolf Buchheim initiated experimental methods or documented designed experimental methods. किसी विशेष दवा की क्रिया के तंत्र को परिभाषित करने के लिए प्रायोगिक तरीकों की प्रणालीगत खोज की शुरुआत रूडोल्फ बुकहिम के द्वारा की गई। 1847 में जर्मनी में इन्होंने पहला फार्माकोलॉजी का संस्थान स्थापित किया। Hippocrates is known as the father of medicine and Oswald Schmiedeberg is known as the father of pharmacology. Incidentally, he was one of the students of Professor Rudolf Buchheim. He was the first to introduce the concept of pharmacodynamic and pharmacokinetic of a drug. Now mind you, we just discussed that pharmacokinetic term was introduced by Professor Dost. However, the concept that what happens to the drug as it faces with internal enzymes, tissues, etc. was always into being, because pharmacodynamics and pharmacokinetic works hand in hand. As you will eventually learn, it is not only the chemical moiety that exerts its action, but sometimes after metabolism, the actual chemical moiety of the drug is the source or reason for its therapeutic use. औषधि विज्ञान के जनक ऑस्वाल्ड श्मीडबर्ग को मानते हैं। वो किसी दवा के फार्माकोडायनामिक और फार्माकोकाइनेटिक अवधारणा को पेश करने वाले पहले व्यक्ति थे। As we will delve more into pharmacodynamics, mechanism of drug reactions, actions, we are going to learn about receptors. This concept of receptive substances or receptor basically are ligands into which or protein molecules with which the drug moiety interact to bring about the effect. The concept of receptive substance that combines with drug molecule to exert action was given by John Newport Langley. Also, he coined the term autonomic nervous system, and believe me, both autonomic nervous system as well as receptors are one of the fundamental concepts in the field of pharmacology. ग्रहणशील पदार्थ के अवधारणा जो दवा के अणु के साथ मिलकर क्रिया करती हैं, इस कॉन्सेप्ट को जॉन न्यूपोर्ट लैंगली ने सर्वप्रथम दिया एवं स्वायत्त तंत्रिका तंत्र शब्द को भी इन्होंने ही गढ़ा। Like I said, chemotherapy is very important in context of pharmacology. Chemotherapy is used to fight two of the major domains of disease. First is the infection and second is the cancer. However, the concept of chemoreceptor and chemotherapy and linking chemical compound structure with their pharmacological activity was first introduced by Paul Ehlrich. He also coined the term magic bullets. यौगिकों की रासायनिक संरचना को उनकी औषधीय गतिविधियों के साथ पहली बार पॉल एलरिच ने जोड़ा था। कीमो रिसेप्टर्स और कीमोथेरेपी की अवधारणा भी इन्होंने पेश की और मैजिक बुलेट्स का शब्द भी गढ़ा। One other figure of immense repute in the field of pharmacology is J. Abel. Actually, he is not only renowned in the field of pharmacology but very instrument even in medicine, because he isolated adrenaline, crystallized insulin, and invented artificial kidney. These three are: adrenaline is the functional moiety of the autonomic nervous system. Obviously, insulin, it is very important in the entire management of diabetes. And artificial kidney, the concept of artificial kidney dialysis, very important for urinary disorders and nephrotic malfunctions. पृथक एड्रेनालिन, क्रिस्टलाइज्ड इंसुलिन और कृत्रिम किडनी के आविष्कार का श्रेय जे एबल को जाता है. A very important concept in defining the action of drug is the dose response curve. The dose response curve makes evaluation as to the response of a particular drug on increasing its dose or increasing its concentration. It was co-discovered by Archibald Vivian Hill along with Erwin Langmuir in form of Langmuir-Hill equation. लिगैंड या दवा की बढ़ती सांद्रता के लिए खुराक प्रतिक्रिया वक्रों के आकार का वर्णन करने के लिए अर्विंग लैंगम्यूर के साथ लैंगम्यूर हिल समीकरण की सह खोज आर्चिबाल्ड विवियन हिल ने की थी. Next in line of notable mention is Sir A.J. Clark. He introduced the log concentration effect curve. We will learn and discuss about each of these curves in detail in our eventual episodes. Clark, however, proposed that the effect of drug is directly proportional to the concentration of the drug receptor complex, and the maximum effect occurs when all the receptors are occupied. This is a concept, a fundamental concept of pharmacodynamics, and we will eventually take it up. But for now, just understand when all of the drug occupies the entire concentration of receptor in a particular area, it is during that time we can achieve the maximum response of any drug. लॉग एकत्रता प्रभाव वक्र प्रस्तुत किया एवं एजे क्लार्क ने प्रस्तावित किया कि किसी दवाई का प्रभाव दवा रिसेप्टर कॉम्प्लेक्स की सांद्रता के सीधे अनुपातिक होता है और अधिकतम प्रभाव तब होता है जब सभी रिसेप्टर्स पर दवा अपना कब्जा कर ले. With this we come to the end of today's episode. The history of pharmacology is very rich. In today's episode we have covered some of the notable events and name not all. In our next episode we will be learning in detail the scope of pharmacology. Thank you for watching. Please comment, share and hit the bell icon to subscribe our channel if you have not already done so. Also, if you have any queries regarding the content of our current episode, please comment and we will get back to you. Goodbye and see you in our next episode. And our next episode will be on the scope of pharmacology. Thank you. Bye-bye.